Hello, hello. I think I am finally going to be able to provide you the tulip tutorial. Um, few technical difficulties, but let's go ahead and try and make a start on that today. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my Light Fast champagne. This is a really pale, creamy yellow color. We're going to go in and put this in the lightest areas on the flower. You want to make sure that you're going in with really light pressure. Drafting film doesn't hold a lot of layers of pencil anyway, so if you go in real hard with your first couple of layers, you won't be able to get all of the additional ones in after. So hold the pencil back away from the tip. That helps decrease the pressure that you're putting on it, and just make sure that you're going along with nice, light, even pressure. Now, I'm going to switch over to the Polychromos Cream. It's a little bit more vibrant yellow than the champagne is, but really either one of these is fine, or any pale yellow that you have. We're just going to put this in the lightest areas on the tulip. And when you're going over lines, if you need to make your lines darker than the rest of the area you're coloring, instead of increasing your pressure, what you'll want to do is just go over it a couple of extra times. That'll help you get the darker color without damaging your surface or completely filling the tooth. All right. Now we're going to switch over to the Derwent Lightfast Banana. This is a really vibrant yellow color. And what we're going to do is we're going to go in again, nice, light, even pressure. And we're going to go over some of the lighter petals in the flower. Just get a nice base layer down. And light fast pencils are really creamy, buttery pencils. So as we begin to layer more colors, they begin to blend together beautifully. And you'll notice I tend to draw in the direction of the petals. This helps to give the flower shape pretty early on. And I've noticed a couple of spots that are a little bit lighter. So I'm going to grab my white and just come in and lighten up some of the yellow that I've put in. Just in a couple of little spots. All right. Now we're just going to go back to our banana. And you will notice me say nice, light, even pressure a lot, because that was one of the hardest things that I had to to learn was not to press down hard. So for the longest time, I was very heavy handed, and it made it super difficult to get the same looks and the quality that I wanted to see because I was just going in way too heavy, way too quick. So now I hold my pencil back halfway or more, and that just helps. Even if I'm not thinking about my pressure, holding it that far back prevents me from being able to put a lot of pressure on it. And I do wear the glove when I'm using drafting film because the oils that your body produces will get onto the drafting film and then it will not take colored pencil. So you want to make sure that you're putting something between your film and your hand so that you don't get any oils on your drafting film. And this is graphics drafting film, not to be confused with the graphics Duralar. Duralar is a student grade film and it does not take color the same as the drafting film does, and it will not take as many layers. Some people get along fine with it. I strongly suggest getting drafting film if you can. Still just going in some of the lighter colored, more yellowy petals. And I will warn you, this is going to look like a huge mess before it is done. I am somewhat chaotic with drawing. There's no real rhyme or reason like a lot of the other artists you'll see or you may have watched. Um, but trust the process. It all comes together in the end, but it will look a mess before then. We just want to keep going, that nice, light, even pressure. we're going to switch over to our light fast flame. And this is a beautiful orange color. What we'll do is go over a lot of the yellow that we just put down. Remember to stay super light pressure, keeping your coverage even. If you go in too heavy now, you're going to end up with clumps and lumps of color that you do not want. So stay very light. And like I said before, if you need some of your lines darker, certain areas darker, just go over it a time or two extra. Don't use extra pressure. We're just going to go in and put this orange on some of the more orangey or petals. And it'll go over most of the yellow that we put down and then some. But that's what colored pencil is about. It's just building up layers and layers until suddenly you look at it and you're like, oh, I have a beautiful picture. And I did that. And I promise you, if I can learn to do this, anybody can. I spent 35 years thinking, I got a little extra color in here. I'm going to just dab it out with my kneadable eraser. But I spent 35 years thinking I could not even draw a stick figure. I mean, I was awful. It was terrible. Could not draw. And I just accepted my fate until, 35 years old and wild hair, ADHD, whatever, decided I was going to learn to draw. And within a year, I was taking commissions. I was taking commissions in less than a year. It does take time and it does take practice. I spent hours upon hours upon hours practicing every day. Still just going in with nice even pressure. Getting a light layer of orange on top of the yellow. Still going along the shape of the petals. When I'm doing animals, when you're drawing animals, you want to make sure that you are paying close attention to the direction of the hair, the direction of the hair growth, because that is what shows you the shape of the animal. So you want to make sure you're going and keeping the fur the same direction as it is on the animal. Still just nice, even pressure. It's really relaxing to just get lost in something like this. Some animals are not very relaxing to draw, but I have found that something like this, something like a Christmas ornament, shiny objects, things like that are really relaxing because they're so easy to get lost in. Now we're going to go in on this side just like the other in the direction that the petal is going. And like I said, this will look like a huge mess before it all comes together in the end. A lot of artists actually have rhyme and reason to the way that they do their drawings. And with animals, I have an idea that I follow with each of them, but I tend to jump to whatever part of the picture that I'm drawing that interests me the most at that moment. And it can change every 5 minutes. So I tend to jump around sometimes. And at the end of the day, occasionally I will have a jumbled mess and think, oh my goodness, what have I done? But it almost always comes together in the end. All right, let's get this in, and then we're going to switch to our Light Fast Scarlet. This is a orangey red color, and we're just going to go in just like with the other colors and just build up those layers. I'm going to add this on top of not all of the yellow and orange, but a lot of it. And again, with your lines here, you just want to go over them a couple of times to make them darker. Don't add any extra pressure. And watch up here, because some of this is still pretty yellowish on your reference photo. So we don't want to completely cover the yellow. Let's go very lightly. If you start to see lumps in your picture, clumps of color, then it just means that you have gone in too hard too quick, and that is just the wax building up from the pencils. You've really got to be super light-handed with drafting film. Well, it helps with pencils in general, but especially with drafting film. And I'm just looking at the reference photo, keeping a check on which areas are a little bit darker. For my reference photo, I usually have an iPad. Occasionally I will print out the image, but I have found that most clients are going to be seeing their picture on a computer or some type of device, tablet, phone, um, before it is presented in person. Most people are going to be viewing the reference photo from a device. And so when you print out the image, you're actually getting a different set of colors than what everyone else is seeing, because they are sometimes drastically different colors between your device screen and a printout of a reference photo. So I tend to stick to digital devices for my reference photos. Not adding any pressure, just going over it multiple times to get a darker lay down. And as we start to build up the layers with these light fast pencils, we will start to blend them together. The wax will, sorry, excuse me. The wax will begin to blend together, and it just works so well on this drafting film. But we're still going in nice and light. in some of the darker areas, you could start to use a little more pressure. You'll notice that I do hold the pencil a little bit farther down now. This gives me better control for some of these smaller areas, but also because as the layers do build up, you will need to use a little bit more pressure to get the pigment to lay down. But we are still not going in heavy. You just want to make sure you're checking your reference photo, noticing the slightly darker areas and getting those shapes in as you go. And still following the shape of the petals. Now you do want to start paying closer attention to your reference photo and make sure that you're going in with a couple extra layers in some of the areas that are a little bit darker with the orangey red. Now, once we start working in this area, you'll notice on the reference photo some of the lines in the petal. So we're going to go in and just make some of our lines a little bit darker. Pretty much, we're just not going to be quite as careful about keeping the even pressure in this area. It's okay if some of those lines are a little bit darker than other areas. And then we just kind of go and fill in nice and light. It's just going to get a base color down. We'll layer some more on top of it. All right. And I warned you that it was going to look a mess. It definitely is a mess right now, but just trust the process. Just want to add some up here. And then we'll go over a few areas with another layer too, real quickly, just to kind of darken it up a little bit. Now we really want to be looking close at our reference photo and just pay attention to the shapes that the darker colors make. And you want to start bringing some of those in. Just keep going, darkening down that red. And you don't have to be real careful with it. The details, refining things, all of that will come in with some of the darker colors in the next few layers. Now what we're going to do is go back to that flame, that orange color. We're going to add a little bit more of that to some of these petals. Kind of tone back a little bit of the red that we put in on some of them. And this is where the colors will begin to blend together really nicely. And just follow the shape of the petals as you go. You can use a little more pressure, but you still go in nice and light. And just going over some of the darker areas with one of the lighter colors you've already used is a really good way to blend your colors. And if it desaturates things a little bit, you'll just go back in with another layer of your darker colors. But these are just blending beautifully on this drafting film. Just keep going back over. Go with the shape of the petal. And this is going to help blend out that scarlet to the lighter color you see at the edge of the petal. And we're just going to do the same over here. There's a little more yellow on the left side. So we'll want to watch and make sure we're not getting too close to the edge of the petal and covering up all of that yellow. Now I want to go back to my champagne and just lighten up some of the areas that have gone a little bit darker than I want them. This will blend the colors together and help to lighten up some of the brighter areas. Just pay close attention, look at your reference photo. It is actually far more important to get the tonal values correct in your drawings than it is to get the exact same color down. You can create something realistic using completely wrong colors, but it will still be recognizable as long as you have your tonal values right. All right, a little bit more in here, and then that will do it for part 1 of our tulip tutorial. I look forward to seeing you all in part 2.